Three Arrows Capital story, because this is one of the most prominent hedge funds in the crypto space.
Collapse of Three Arrows really, or cause, or lead to potentially the broader crypto contagion?
So Suzu apparently has a yacht.
Strange as it is, that's how the hunt for 3AC started.
Talk to us about the role of transparency here. I mean, were they really only betting that crypto was going to go up? What hedge fund does that?
And what's interesting is, if you listen to their comments, they're extremely bullish, and they give you a sense of the way that they went about their business. Mr.
Rose Capital is one of the most controversial names in crypto. The now bankrupt hedge fund was borrowing billions from crypto lenders, and as a result, played a central role in this summer's price meltdown.
They now owe people hundreds of millions to billions of dollars.
As one of its biggest bets collapsed, Three Arrows defaulted on those loans and faced cascading margin calls.
Founders Su Zhu and Kyle Davies of Three Arrows Capital are nowhere to be found, which, if you ask me, is pretty good timing because they just went bankrupt.
So who are Three Arrows Capital? They are a Singapore-based, or should I say they were a Singapore-based cryptocurrency hedge fund, which was ordered to actually liquidate on the 27th of June 2022, and this was ordered by a court in the British Virgin Islands. It was founded in 2012 by Kyle Davies and Su Zhu. The company actually borrowed billions of dollars to fund its trading, and according to the July 2022 bankruptcy filings, they face $3.5 billion in creditors' claims. The fund appears to have lost in excess of $3 billion over the course of 2021 and 2022, making it one of the largest hedge funds trading losses of all time. To understand the story that we're going to be telling here, you need to understand the story of Three Arrows Capital, because this is a scam that just keeps rebranding, and a lot of people have lost out from this. And I couldn't help but notice CoffeeZilla has covered this topic about a year ago, but I feel like he missed a lot out. It's a very, let's say, compressed video to garner the most views and most reach. And what we're going to be doing here is elaborating on that. So if you haven't watched the CoffeeZilla video on this subject, please do go back and watch it, because it's going to give a lot of context as to what we're going to be going through here and unraveling the story of this scam rebranding and moving forward and just reproducing product after product, which leaves investors empty. So it wasn't always rainy days with Three Arrows Capital. In fact, I think it all went wrong when they took the theoretical idea of the super cycle, and this was something someone called Dan Held, which is a Bitcoin educator and marketing advisor in crypto and also in the bigger financial sector. Now, he spoke of a super cycle as to which Bitcoin would reach a point of major adoption where we would no longer see any downsides. Three Arrows Capital took this theory to another level, and they just kept buying the dips, buying the dips and buying the dips, going long, going extra long and going long. Before they knew it, the bubble had totally burst.
Crypto, or digital currencies, have now lost $2 trillion in value.
Holy crap, I literally just got wiped out.
The most destructive wealth event in the history of crypto, with probably about $50 billion just wiped out.
So the Three Arrows empire began to peak out around February 2022, and they actually led a $1 billion buy with Jump to secure USTC against black swans, and this was a $1 billion Luna purchase, and it was all set aside by the Luna Foundation Guard in order to change the USTC primary backed algorithm to a more stable backed system of bitcoins. So with this substantial Luna purchase alongside the substantial backing of the Bitcoin supercycle theory, it all spiraled out of control, and on May 9th 2022 Luna did crash entirely, and the following month 3AC followed them with a similar fate of being met with tons of different margin calls that they simply couldn't meet. So at this point, these guys are absolutely balls deep in all kinds of different investments, from yachts to mansions, from apartments to investments in one of the biggest crashes in history.
According to reports, the duo had bought a series of mansions and a $50 million super yacht, which, according to a signed affidavit, this yacht was intended to be larger than any yacht owned by any Singapore billionaire.
With all of this came a class action lawsuit that was actually filed against Three Arrows, but then dismissed not long after, and it's very interesting to see this play out after the crash. After 3AC crashed, we also saw FTX crash, and all of these different people are also interwoven into this story. So now you've got the majority of the history of Three Arrows Capital, the crash, the Luna crash, and the FTX crash all tied into this. We can move forward onto Three Arrow Capital's next target. So during those three major crashes, both Davies and Zhu go completely off radar until around late 2022, when they resurface with another cryptocurrency related venture called Open Exchange. And in the community that I'm from, we know this one very well, and it promotes a token called Ox token, being their native token. And there was huge negative reactions from financial institutions and investors. And in June 2023, they actually opened this Open Exchange and began offering its own cryptocurrencies. And Davies actually commented that he was getting 3AC vibes all over again. So Three Arrows Capital, now rebranded as OpenX, get CoinFlex in their crosshairs and begin to target them. And they actually do this by establishing a new crypto exchange, primarily based around taking CoinFlex assets and merging them and offering users the ability to convert their CoinFlex assets into new OpenX assets. And this all came forward in a writ of summons filed in the High Court of Hong Kong, and it was seen by Cointelegraph. CoinFlex creditors actually claim that OpenX co-founder and former CEO Mark Lam is misappropriating or otherwise wrongfully using the assets, human resources, intellectual property, trade secrets and other technologies of CoinFlex by diverting them into OpenX. It alleges that Lam performed these actions contrary to his responsibilities to CoinFlex creditors during his tenure. During this process, they actually completed 36% of the total supply of Flex tokens migrated into now Ox tokens, primarily owned by OpenX Exchange themselves. So after touting this huge comeback with OpenX Exchange and consuming the CoinFlex user base and merging it down into their new Ox token, it didn't take long before this new exchange making consistent bold promises and sending people all of these dreams, including 200% interest on staking its own cryptocurrency, huge referral fees and incredible liquid books. It all fell apart, and as of February 15th, it will cease to exist. The dream of OpenX Exchange has now become nothing more than a meme, trading simply as a token for fun with 200% yield on farming, which is absolutely insane. So this leaves many communities and many different projects and many different collapses in the wake of just 2 people. But in late September 2023, Zhu was actually arrested at Shanghai Airport in Singapore, and he was actually sentenced to 4 months in prison for failing to cooperate with the company's liquidators, being 3AC and CoinFlex. To me, this doesn't feel like justice served. This feels like they keep rebranding and they keep continuing to do what they do. So the question is, how are they so successful at rebranding each time and garnering more and more support? And this really boils down to a very specific group of people that have targeted the LUNC chain, people like myself and many others who have been doxxed. Their families have been doxxed, and this really does just boil down to a very specific group. And we can see this interwoven into the very fabric of OpenNX, 3AC, and all of the other associations through this timeline. So if we take a look at their following and we just take a scroll, we see that Coach Bruce, being LUNC DAO, being Ox DAO, is heavily interwoven into this. So with all this heat and all of the shilling that's been going on, they need a way to cover their tracks, to provide more heat in order to cover their own heat. And this all boils down to a very specific tactic that's used by this group of people. And this is called the accusation in a mirror tactic, also known as the AIM, also called mirror politics. This is a really important technique that they use. It's used to more or less, like I said, cover the tracks, create more heat to cover their own heat. And this has been used by some of the craziest people in history that have ever existed. So in 1970, a French book writer who was a social psychologist actually introduced the term accusation in the mirror through his book, which was named in English Accusations in the Mirror. And it really dives into the use, the terminology, and the ins and outs and the timeline of where this has actually been used and utilized by different parties, different agendas throughout history. And like I said, this is exactly what they're doing. They're specifically accusing everybody of what they are doing. They name people grifters, but they're grifters themselves. They name LUNC a meme coin, yet they've just turned OpenNX, Ox coin, which is the supposed herd, into a total meme coin for fun. So realistically, we've got all of the evidence that is showing us and telling us a completely different story to what they're telling us and the accusations that they're making against the Terra Classic blockchain. So in the wake of all of the destruction caused, all of the people that have been doxxed, their families doxxed, their children doxxed, targeted specifically by all of these very specific groups that dwell and FUD and cause absolute chaos on our blockchain. We also have all of the different things that we've gone through here previously, from FreeAC to CoinFlex. Lots of people have been damaged throughout this journey. So when we look back at this story, we simply see different people each pointing the finger at each other. You have Terraform pointing the finger at FreeAC, FreeAC pointing the finger at FTX, and inside all of this is $1 trillion that's simply just vaporized. With OpenNX shutting down and this new mysterious exchange as a replacement, it really signals to us that these people behind this are professionals and they will continue to go and ravage blockchains like CoinFlex. Luckily for the investors, they never got the $150 million much wow yacht left behind by the crypto's hedge fund's collapse. And this is really good. It's a strong point, and it's a good way to end the video to show that these crooks don't always get everything that they bargained for. If you haven't seen parts 1, 2 and 3 of the LUNC Got Weird series, do go back, watch, have a listen, look, pause, learn, ask questions and find the truth for yourselves. Although our chain's very confusing at times and there's a lot of deception, a lot of lies and a lot of backstabbing, I hope to have always been a light in the dark for a lot of different people. These videos, a lot of work goes into them, a lot of time goes into them, a lot of energy goes into them, and I spend hours upon hours researching, listening to different things and trying to ensure that I'm bringing things in a good timeline that you're able to understand and put into your own crypto timeline yourselves. If you're part of the LUNC community, I am a validator. I validate the blockchain and I provide quite a lot. I'm here all of the time and I'm consistently providing content, and I've never backed off even when this chain was at its lowest point. I will always be here for this blockchain, and this series will continue as long as the weirdness continues in this blockchain. You've been watching LUNC Got Weird Part 4.